Oh, hi there. I've wanted to comment on some of the activity going on in the Boston-Toronto game. Um, it's close right now. I believe it's 4-4. I've decided to make this video in front of my computer so I can, uh, give a visual. My dad's in the other room hogging the TV, so I'm not actually watching the game. Uh, should still be 4-4. Yeah, it is with about 15 minutes left, I guess. Um, I've seen a few of the clips, um, and I gotta say, when Boston has had goals against them, the team has been sloppy. Um, like Zdeno Chara has been a detriment, and like even at the beginning of the game, I happened to be in a store that sold TVs. Zdeno Chara was, he was pointed out as being the player that um, was on the ice when, six goals were scored against their team over the course of whatever, and there were only one goal um, while he was on. And, that's pretty bad statistics. And, he's a big guy, he's getting older. It makes sense that he's just not as fast as he used to be, and he's not the dominant force he used to be. And he can't be as physical anymore. I mean, because he's what, in his late 30s, and he's a very tall man. They lose that ability to perform earlier. I mean, they don't come like Jaromir Jagrs, who are, they played until a very late age. Um, Not to say that Enichara's unfit, not to say that he can't play hockey, but he can't play it against guys who are 25 years old. They're at the prime of their athletic ability. And, old guys like Zdeno Chara, I think he's 37, 38. He's it's showing. It really is. He's maybe he doesn't retire next year, but it's really got to be taken into effect. But anyway, getting back to the goals that Boston's let in, I'm not really blaming Rask on them. I've seen them, and it's just like the whole Boston defensive line has just been bad. Um, Whereas for Toronto, the goals I saw, um, the Bruins had scored, they were, the team was doing mostly everything right, except the puck went in the net. Um, Obviously, the power play goal, where there was four Toronto defensemen too close to the net and too much in proximity in front of the goalie, so he couldn't see what was going on. That is a slight miscalculation, in my opinion. They needed to branch out a bit so that the Bruins didn't have so much room. Um, so, I mean, what I'm saying is, in my opinion, Boston has been the better scoring team, and Toronto has been the better defensive team. Because, sometimes a good offense is the best defense. And sometimes vice versa. Sometimes best defense is the best offense, and there's a balance here. The game's still going on, and in my opinion, I think Toronto is going to win. Um, just based on what I see, I guess anything could go at this point. Not even watching the game. I don't have the live stream or anything. I was just Boston's up 5. Oh, it's a nail biter. Uh, I still hold that opinion that Toronto can pull one out of the hat, because this game is, it's pretty pivotal. It's like, way back in 2011, when the Leafs, collapsed against Boston, and it just, the memes went on and on and on and on that Toronto had blown it. Um, The thing is, um, there are some aspects of the Toronto Maple Leafs team that I don't think they're good fits as far as, actually winning a Stanley Cup, uh, for example. Like Patrick Marleau, excellent hockey player. He's had a not bad year in the regular season. I forgot how many points he had, but he had like nearly 30 goals, I believe, something like that. And for his age, he's quite well. Unlike Chara, they're both about the same age, but Patrick Marleau is still playing at a professional level. Um, but the thing is, Patrick Marleau had his chance to win the Stanley Cup. Year before last when San Jose played Pittsburgh, that was his opportunity along with Joe Thornton. Didn't happen, and it won't happen again because there's just certain players that, that is the pinnacle of their career is making it to the finals, and that's it. If they didn't win, they didn't win. Um, I mean, obviously, there are guys who didn't win the first time round, and then, second time round did win. Sidney Crosby being an example, Marian Hossa being another example. In fact, the guy lost twice. It was funny. He lost it on Pittsburgh, right? But, he'd only shown up at trade deadline, but and I thought that was a really sleazy thing for Pittsburgh to do. The team was winning and things like that, and they ditch Christensen and they ditch Colby Armstrong to get Hossa. And Hossa wasn't that effective against the Red Wings that year. Anyway, Hossa goes, well, I want to go to a playoff winning team. And, they had just lost to the Red Wings, so he figured he'd go to Detroit. And they made it to the finals, and he lost again on the opposite team. And then he went to Chicago and won a Stanley Cup. Um, so that's it's kind of funny, one of those things. But yeah, usually with certain players, they reach their pinnacle, and unfortunately, they don't have any more tricks in the bag. And Patrick Marleau, I believe, is in that category. He is still a very talented hockey player, and for his age, he's doing quite well. But long term, I don't think he can ever bring Toronto to Stanley Cup Finals and actually win. You get Austin Matthews, not bad hockey player, not nearly as good as the hype was when people were talking about him at first. Uh, he's not as good as Connor McDavid, and he never will be. Um, I'm just pointing out a fact here. Better check up on the score, I suppose. Well, it's still 5-4 Boston. I want to see Toronto win here. I don't want them to lose. Um, I mean, it's funny. I didn't even check before I said I think Toronto was going to win because that was just the instinct I had to think. Um, but I want to delve into a little bit of hypotheticals here. Should Toronto play Tampa Bay? Um, Tampa Bay is going to mop the floor with them. There is no doubt about that in my mind. They were a power to be reckoned with uh, in the regular season, and truth be told, the week of the playoffs and before, when the New Jersey Devils were playing the Tampa Bay Lightning, I was wearing my Taylor Hall New Jersey Devils jersey. That was the only jersey I was wearing because I like Taylor Hall. I thought he had a phenomenal season, and he's a player that will throw body checks when he needs to, and he scores goals, and he's been a real good thing for the team. I also was kind of thinking that way because you know New Jersey had actually beat Tampa in all their regular season games. although on paper Tampa Bay was obviously the way better team, and the hockey guy did a very good video with his predictions. Um, but you know, as it were, Tampa Bay has won. So unfortunately, the New Jersey Devils jersey has gone to the closet for a little while anyway, until the end of the playoffs, I suppose. That's just the way it is. Um, I do have a Toronto Maple Leafs jersey, but you know, I didn't feel like wearing it in this video. You know, I haven't worn my Winnipeg Jets jersey. I've had this thing for like 4 months, and I just haven't worn it. I mean, I wear it outside, I just haven't worn it during a video. That's all. Um, yeah. Anyway, Winnipeg doing awesome. That's great. Um, I'm gonna make a video about that because there was something just a little bit strange, and not about them winning or anything like that. It was something else, and I'll get into that in another video. But as far as this game goes, I don't know. It looks a bit tense from this standpoint. I mean, I had heard from a friend yesterday that they really believed that Boston was going to win, and it looks like that's what's happening here. To me, you know, it's not that big a deal who wins. I mean, I'd prefer a Canadian team to win, but we're just gonna have to see about that. Uh, yeah, but I haven't watched most of the game. You know, they only have a few of the highlights on the NHL website, right? And I'm just like, the main point I can make is that when Toronto has scored, the Boston defense has been sloppy, and when Boston has scored, um, they were very great goals. And Toronto couldn't have done their defense much better to have stopped them from doing that. That's what I noticed. I don't know how the rest of the gameplay is going and like who is controlling the puck, who's getting more penalties and all that sort of stuff. I'm sure I could look up the statistics, but I don't feel like it, to be honest with you. You know, I got my mind on other things here. Um, so I don't want some douchebag who, you know, spends, you know, $20 on NHL merchandise to start lecturing me about hockey because I'm not directly watching the game. I like the NHL for my reasons. You can like them for your reasons, but I like the NHL for my reasons. Um, so yeah, I don't want to put up with any douchebags telling me, "Oh, well, you're not really a fan." Have it your way. I don't give a damn because it doesn't matter what you think. Um, what else more can I say about this? I'm not gonna do a, you know, like a live reaction video where, you know, I'm watching it. I'm sure the hockey guy's doing that right this second. Um, I haven't seen the fifth goal. It hasn't shown up on the NHL.com website. Yeah, the last goal is still from Toronto. And who scored it? Yeah, and this here's a statistic right here. Toronto, at this point in time, according to this, has less than 20 shots, and Boston has 32. So that, to me, is definitely defense first mentality with Toronto um, against Boston. And Boston is offense. 32 shots on goal, and 5 of them got in. That's for most games. That's, you know, that's a win. Um, However, the sloppiness of the Boston defense, 4 goals on 19 shots is bad actually. It's usually an indicator that you're playing against a bad team. Um, and the thing is, should Toronto defeat Boston, they pull a rabbit out of the hat. They will be playing Tampa. Tampa has a way more powerful offense than Toronto, and if they can't override that, then Tampa Bay is just going to steamroll right over them. And it's been a few years since Tampa was a formidable force in the playoffs, because notably they were knocked out by the Chicago Blackhawks, and that wasn't actually, too difficult a series to determine who was going to win. Uh, the teams going into that one, it was clear Chicago had the momentum, and I would prefer, a better playoffs this year, because I mean I was sorely disappointed uh, that Nashville lost last year, but I knew it was going to happen because I knew, Nashville was the up and comer and the upstart, and there was just no way they were going to push Pittsburgh over. And lo and behold, that's exactly what happened. And I called it before the thing. Um, but it's just one of those things. Um, what point did I want to make? Um, as far as the Western Conference goes, let's have a look at the teams. As I Yes, of course, I know like the back of my hand all the Western teams that are into the next round. Winnipeg is playing um, Nashville. I hope Winnipeg beats Nashville. Um, Nashville has been a strong team this year. They won the President's Trophy, but they had their chance, and that was last year. So I think that I would prefer Winnipeg win, and that's not just because I'm a Canadian. As a matter of fact, I hate Canada for different reasons, but we're not going to get into that in this video. And I would like to see Vegas win against San Jose, and I think they will, but I do not want to see Vegas win the Stanley Cup. That is something I will say right now. I do not want the Vegas Golden Knights to win the Stanley Cup. It's just, it would be really like something I would not enjoy seeing, because I've made this point before that I don't like that the pool of teams that have not won the Stanley Cup to get smaller, at least before Vancouver wins one. Because, obviously there are teams that they really were dominant forces in their era and won a lot of Stanley Cups. Boston, Detroit, Toronto, usual suspects. Chicago in the last 10 years, or 8 years. And I would like to see new fresh teams win. At this point, obviously Boston's won a cup, Toronto's won cups, Tampa has won one cup, Nashville's never won a cup, Winnipeg's never won a cup, Vegas has never won a cup, and San Jose's never won a cup. So the Western Conference has never won a cup with the teams remaining. And, I don't like the whole belt mentality along, the northeastern Canadian American border, where it's just a belt of teams, right? Most of the teams are there, and they got higher population densities. It makes sense. There's not really a lot of room to put more teams in the Western Conference. But I mean, there are some teams that really have no business being called Western teams. Um, um, I used to say Winnipeg, but Winnipeg and Minnesota, like those are more central. It's a stretch to call them Western, but you know, um, that's just my opinion. A lot of the hockey guys really liked it when Winnipeg was shifted back to the Western Conference. I heard from multiple people that they preferred it that way. I mean, it doesn't make it any easier for Vancouver. Vancouver's got to be the farthest away from every team. But yeah, it's just one of those things. So yeah, we're gonna have to see what goes on. Ooh, Boston just scored again. 6-4. It looks bad. I told you, Patrick Marleau had his chance, and it's not looking good. Gotta say, 2 goals against. How much time is left? Is it over? No, it's not. It's stupid computer. I hate the new system they got on the NHL.com. I like the old model better. Anyway, the game's still on, but Boston's winning 6-4. Less than 8 minutes. Thank you. That's what I wanted to know. Yeah, this has just been a bad period for Toronto. I haven't seen any of these goals that Boston's put up in this last period, but I guess they got their act together. Yeah, and I might have been totally correct when I said Toronto and Patrick Marleau in particular. He doesn't have any more tricks in the bag. Ooh. It's not good. But let's check out some other statistics here. Both teams have been very effective on the power play. Not too many penalties. Face-off win percentage, about the same. Boston's doing a little bit better. Probably because of Bergeron. Block shots, about the same. Takeaways. Ooh, that is where Boston just got another takeaway, but that is where Boston was sloppy because they have half the takeaways that Toronto has. And that was just sloppy defense on Boston's part. Yeah, ooh, that's hits about the same, 30-30. These teams are being physical. What else is going on here? Oh, and Plekanec. I completely forgot about him. That was a player that, Toronto picked up, and I don't know why they thought he would, be a good fit on the team. Like, he hasn't accomplished much, and, he's getting to the tail end of his career as well. He's not as old, but, his better days are behind him, unfortunately. I mean, I don't like to sound like a dick, but that's just the truth. Yeah, it's not looking good. There's still time, but they better do something. Fix the problem. Yeah, because according to this, Toronto hasn't even had a shot in the third period. Ooh, then, like, from my perspective, I have no television to watch it. I'm just looking at live statistics, and I'm going, that's not good. That's like they're being dominated. And, the team's got to get it together if they're to make this an interesting one. Because I got to tell you, Game 7 when Boston won against Vancouver way back when was not an interesting game. And as a Vancouver Canuck fan, it was an irritating thing. I mean, there's a lot of NHL teams I like, but Vancouver obviously, because I was born here, is on the top of the list, regardless of what I actually think about the city. Well, there's less than 5 minutes. Do I really want to drag my video out any longer? I really shouldn't, but I think I'm going to. I think I'm going to make this a long video. I'll just keep talking as I see the statistics change on the game. There's less than 5 minutes to go, so I can stretch this video out a little bit longer, I think. Yeah. Yeah, well, I have been knocking on Patrick Marleau, but he's got 2 goals in this game. So, he really is a player that, he deserved his contract, but, there are players that can go to a team and, they do well on the team, but it doesn't equate to winning the Stanley Cup. And Patrick Marleau is a point in case. It's like they bring a curse with them or something like that. You know, really too bad. But at least Patrick Marleau is going out of this playoff season by the look of it with a bit of dignity at his age. Yeah. Speaking of dignity, my hair. I need a haircut, okay? So there are going to be people who are going to go, your hair looks terrible. It looks like you tried to cut it yourself with, a weed eater. No, I did not. My hairdresser was just very bad, and he was very expensive too, because I'm trying to grow it out. But anyway, that's non-hockey related, so I'm just mentioning that as a fact. What else? Ooh, Toronto's got the empty net, and they've mustered 2 shots. Oh, but it's not good. Empty net with 2 goals behind. I mean, it has been done, where teams have come back. It most certainly has been, but most of the time it doesn't work. Most of the time it's a pathetic, desperate attempt to escape the inevitable. Ooh, Toronto looks as though they put the goalie back in. Perhaps they got a penalty or something. What's going on here? I don't know. Maybe they do have maybe the net is still empty. I'm doing all this blind, I've got, statistics in front of me and things like that, but I ain't giving no money to NHL.com so I can watch it on the computer. I mean, I got a TV behind me, but I don't believe in no cable, man. I got my own reasons. And as I said, the TV in the other room is what my dad's watching, so I don't have access to a TV right now that can watch it. And those apps on your phone, I'm certainly not paying, $80 or whatever it is so that I can watch hockey games on my phone. Because not only are you paying $80 for it, it like destroys your data plan. And it's just like, no, I'm not investing, $300, $400 onto a phone per month. Especially as I've made videos talking about why I don't like smartphones. Well, at this point, I think the nail's in the coffin. There's 1 minute, 10 seconds left. Toronto is down by 2 goals. And that's not good. I'm just waiting out the clock on this one. Obviously, it'd be nice to see Toronto be a bit more successful in the playoffs. And there are a lot of people who were really hoping Toronto could get it together. But, yeah, it's not looking particularly good And my video is not sounding so interesting anymore because I don't have much to talk about because I don't have a visual. That prick Brad Marchand is gonna, make another uh, playoff push. He sounds like they'll be playing Tampa, and I think Tampa's gonna beat Boston because, yeah, Boston's defense early in this game was really sloppy. I don't know if that's changed. If, they got a prep talk and they're, tighten up and do better. I mean, obviously, uh, they're not, Toronto's not getting a lot of shots, but, it was just like total collapse of defense when they did, and they made them pay for it at the time. Oop, 7:04. Nope, it's done. 30 seconds left. It's over. Boston's playing Tampa Bay. And I don't have a current Tampa Bay jersey. I don't actually particularly like their jersey as it is. I prefer the one I have, even though it's a little bit tacky because of the shoulder crest being the Tampa Bay logo, and it's the same logo that's on the chest part, the chest crest. And also, it's got a weird striped armpit. I don't know why they put that there, but like when you saw Steven Stamkos back in the day wearing those jerseys and scoring goals, it looked badass. And I don't wear it so much because I actually picked a jersey that was too big. It should have been a medium, and then it would have looked a lot better. But yeah, the game is over, 7-4. Kind of hoping Boston wouldn't have gotten that empty netter because, that just makes it look worse. But, this is just the way the cookie crumbles. So anyway, if you enjoyed hearing someone talk about the game that they're not actually watching directly, hit that subscribe button. And if you couldn't be bothered to listen to what a guy had to say for 32 plus minutes, whatever. Anyways, I will talk to you guys later. Have a good one, and let's see how the next season goes, or the next series. Yeah. All right. Have a good one.